Hi, everyone. I'm here with Yinglian, who is the CEO of DataVisor. And DataVisor is a very advanced AI platform that helps companies and their customers protect against fraud and abuse in the digital space, which is a very hot topic these days. But Yinglian, welcome. Um, as a first question, can you explain a little bit more what DataVisor does?
Yes, it's my great pleasure to be here. Yeah, so DataVisor is a company that leverages the most advanced technologies, as we know, that AI, machine learning, as well as these parallel computing kind of infrastructure to help all these enterprises, as well as to help protect all of us consumers from a variety of fraud, abuse, and money laundering activities. In particular, as everybody is rapidly moving toward the digital era and getting online, getting connected. Our mission is really to make the world safer and more connected.
Well, it's clear that this area is, you need to keep on your toes to keep up with new ways that people are committing fraud, right? What we're seeing is there's an increasing number of companies that are trying to help address this. What makes DataVisor different versus others who are in this space helping to protect fraud?
Yes, so from looking at the fraud perspective, you start realizing the fraud is diversified, have many kind of different form. So what DataVisor is focusing on, as I also mentioned our when we get started from DataVisor, what motivated Fang and I to start up DataVisor is during the previous kind of 7.5 years working at Microsoft, working on different problems, we actually find a lot of these fraud, they look different, but their root is somewhat similar. They're all coming from these user account and their activities. And so any new kind of innovation you introduce or new functions you provide to the users potentially can be vulnerable and lead to some fraudulent activities or abuse by attackers. Therefore, DataVisor's commitment is really to focusing on account lifecycle protection. The reason is that we are fast evolving, right? Digitalization means we keep innovating. We have this P2P payment, we have this online wiring, and there's lots of innovation going on. We don't want to basically just say, here are the 4 or 5 problems we just need to work on. We wanted a solution that is latest technology and that can also supporting this newer form of functions and that we can protect against. And I want to say another biggest differentiator we really are coming from to provide to our customers and provide to end users is to leverage our background of research, really to make sure we have the best technology in place, because that's kind of the reason why we started DataVisor. That's our mission to get started, is to bridge the gap between technology and what the real world. Well, versus unsupervised machine learning is to really, the idea is to say, we don't know what fraud we might face tomorrow, but let's let the learning algorithm, let the technology figure out itself what is new to come and be very adaptive, proactive in identifying these attacks. And that's what we have been committed to, have been working on throughout the period and for the 7 years we've been there. If you look at who can leverage technology to protect fraud, and from the consumer side, there is some also responsibility of making sure I want to protect my information well, and I want to make sure my information does not get lost. And from the bank side, they have a lot of things to do, examine, right, what the payment, and the merchant the same. They have a lot of transactions. So the policy influences the incentives, who does what. For example, who's going to take the loss, have a lot of incentive to do a lot of things. And that's where, as a global provider, we started seeing different regions then would have different behaviors as well. And so for some of the places, you would see they put the burden on the consumer side, and therefore it creates a lot of user friction. And then the consumer are the one that really want to make sure that I cannot lose my information. I need to double check. So multi-factor authentication is the typical way you would see that the providers provide such a means to make consumers be able to take more caution. But on the other hand, when the loss happens, it can be very devastating, right? And there's also other part of policies that influence, for example, the privacy part. What information can be used for fraud detection? What information we could be collecting? And there could be a tendency to be, we want to know everything in order to kind of do a good job of fraud protection. But on the other hand, as I've been also talking about in some of my latest articles, I really think that creates this mistrust between consumers and enterprises. On one hand, the information is used for good purpose. On the other hand, because there's so much information of us being collected for various purposes, and consumers tends to be reluctant to say, I don't want to give anything, right? I don't want to give any information. So that creates a tension of the enterprises, organizations who wish to do their job, but is not powered at the position have the right information to do the job. So I really think regulation is a good place to, for example, being able to separate the cause of the purpose for the data usage.
To conclude, one last question. You've been on a remarkable journey as a co-founder of a company, as an entrepreneur. For any new entrepreneurs, what's the lesson that you most share with others who are on their entrepreneurial journey from what you've learned?
To work on something and you're truly passionate about, and be able to be committed, take that long-term commitment and doing whatever is needed, and keep what you kind of start with, wanted to achieve, and take that spirit. It's a marathon or going through. And I think that to me, I think gradually seeing we actually come from kind of really nothing, right? The two of us, and from ideas to technologies, and to started working like with these many largest customers in the world and generating impact. That is truly rewarding, but that takes time. And that takes a lot of also commitment of the team effort. So I really think putting on that long-term thinking is what I would say. And so really to build something from scratch into big success. And so we basically, and that's what we are kind of working hard toward. And that's something I hope is a final kind of a rewarding piece to the entrepreneurs. But it's definitely not a hobby. I would say that is needs something you have truly passionate about.
Well, your passion certainly came through in this interview, and DataVisor certainly is on a great path to success, and we can't wait for what's ahead for your company. And hopefully somewhere our paths will cross again. Thank you very much, Yinglian. We really appreciate your contribution to Signal 360. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. It's my great pleasure, to work together.